What's up, guys? My name's Mike. If you're new here, I'm a solo developer who's been attempting to make games for 7 years now. I have 2 games on Steam, and my 3rd game, Wildkins, has just hit its 1-year mark in development. So a little over a year ago, I quit my job to focus on game dev full time, and I just want to share with you guys how it's been going, talk about some of the things that worked out for me, some of the mistakes I've made, and the big decision of me putting my game Wildkins on a pause for development. So some of the other things we'll look at is how wishlists were for the game, how YouTube and marketing has been going, how much money I've been able to make this year, what my plans are going forward, and how much runway I still have left. So I've been very hesitant about making this video. I've actually spent like the last 2 weeks recording this. I swear I've recorded this about 30 times. I just have not been able to find the right way to talk about this. Prior to this video, I am coming off a 1-month break where I've just been full-blown imposter syndrome and just really beating my head on what decisions I made to end up in the position I'm in. At one point, I just thought about going and hiding off in a bush and going back to my main job. That was very short-lived though, but just gives you an idea of where my head has been. But I definitely think it's good to share, whether it's good or bad. It just gives a more transparent look into the life of some game developers, and maybe some of you are at the same crossroads that I am. So first off, I want to say the year has been extremely fun. I've had a great time. I have learned a tremendous amount, and I wouldn't have learned this much if I was still working my day job and doing this on the side. So in terms of learning, this year so far has been very successful. So let's talk about my expectations. Before I quit my job, I was planning this for about 3 to 4 years. I was putting aside some money. I had some small investments that really helped pave the runway for me to be able to do this. I thought that I would at least want to be able to finance this for a minimum of 2 years. This wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment decision. I didn't just walk into work one day and go, you know what? Nope, I'm out of here. See you guys. This was definitely well thought out. The part that wasn't very well thought out was what I was going to do once I did quit my job. I just knew that I wanted to focus on game dev completely. I wanted to just wake up in the morning and have that be the only thing on my agenda for the day. I knew it was going to be extremely hard to make it as a solo dev. I just wanted to try and improve myself as much as possible. The other things on my list were I was going to attempt to put out another game, hopefully, and make devlogs and just start a YouTube channel in general. And whatever came from that would just be a bonus. The primary concern was to try and just get as best as I could. At the end of the year, I would kind of reevaluate, see if it was worth continuing or if I should start applying for game dev jobs. Now seeing kind of how that whole market is for game developers, that may not have been the best call. So starting the year out, I still had a couple months of work left on my second game, A Terrible Place, so I wanted to finish that up. Once I published it, it didn't do too well, but I was just super eager to start another project. After brainstorming some ideas, I came up with the idea for Wildkins, which is a mix of Pokemon and Animal Crossing, and I spent about a month blueprinting out the game and researching some assets just to make sure I could even make a game like this. This is the point I wish I could hit reset on, because I wish I would have spent a lot more time brainstorming ideas and doing a lot of prototyping rather than just getting into devlogs right away. I wish I would have just put out a lot of small ideas for games and really just been able to vet them that way. But of course, once I had all the plans for Wildkins, I just got super excited because there was a lot of features in the game that I had never done before. And this also should have been a red flag for myself, but I was just generally excited to try it out. It was going to be challenging, and I didn't know how to make any of these systems, but I really just wanted to try. One of the big problems with the game initially is that it was going to take a lot just to get a minimal viable product, meaning any sort of playtest or demo to vet the game was going to be very late in development. So the only thing I really had to go on was what was down on paper and kind of shooting the idea to some friends. And after that, I just kind of went for it. So what went wrong? To put it very simply, I just wasn't experienced enough to design a game like this. The game really didn't play into my strengths of what I know. 95% of it are things that I've never implemented in a game or have ever had experience kind of tuning and balancing to get a really smooth gameplay loop. But again, I think that's what enticed me so much about this is I knew I was going to learn a tremendous amount by trying to put a game together like this. So about 6 months into development is when I first started seeing some of the flaws with the combat and how I just generally designed the Wildkin and how their features would work, what would make them unique, how they would be strong against certain things and weak against others. But there was just so many other things that I needed to do with the game. I was just push that off to the side thinking I'll figure that out later. I'm sure adding new abilities will give them some more uniqueness and give them kind of their own separate roles. I just was very determined to get everything on the list finished. I wanted to complete the game in its entirety, even if it was just for the learning purposes. I also at this time was doing devlogs and marketing the game on Steam, so there was some form of obligation to come through on that. There were people who actually were generally excited, so it made me start thinking maybe I'm being too critical on the game and maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. And you never want to be telling people, hey, look at this cool game, you should go wishlist it, and then have to be like, just kidding, it's not coming out. So with the game in a more or less complete state with its core game loop, all of the core mechanics in place, I can really get a solid look at the game, and I'm just generally unhappy with it. I think it could just be done so much better, and there's a lot more potential left to unlock in the game. So rather than just pump it with the rest of its content and get it to release, I would just like to take a pause and take a big step back to start making a lot of these foundational changes. I don't want to cancel the game. I still do want to work on it. I think it's just going to become kind of a passion project for myself going forward, and just really take my time with it rather than something I'm just trying to move to the finish line. So I will still be working on it. You guys might not see anything about it for a bit, but I promise you when I do show you guys, it'll be a much different game for the better. It was a great first attempt at it, but I think it can be so much more, and I'm only getting better at this stuff. The other issue is the art, and I really should have seen this in the beginning, but a game of kind of this size, it really just needed a 3D artist. It was going to be far too difficult to keep the art style consistent. It put a lot of limitations on what I could and couldn't do with the game. Even though I was using art from the same publisher, it was just getting to a point where I could only stretch the assets out so far. So did I waste a year? As easy it is to think that way, I don't think so. I learned a tremendous amount. I was able to implement every single feature that I wanted to, from the turn-based battling to enemy AI to farming, crafting, fishing, the inventory system, saving all that player data, the resource gathering. This game tremendously improved me as a game dev, and it taught me a lot about what you actually need to do if you want to make a lot of these systems viable and work together to make a fluid flowing game. But in terms of creating a publishable game, I just think it falls short. Plain and simple. So wishlist for the game was about 250 over the course of 7 to 8 months. The conversion rate on this wasn't the best given how many visits the store page did get and how much attention the game did receive. I'm still very grateful for all the people who did wishlist the game and have been supporting it. And I'm sorry if I let some of you guys down. It just doesn't feel right releasing a game I don't feel confident in. So let's talk about YouTube. YouTube greatly surprised me with how well that actually turned out. I was very surprised to even see the view counts I did on my devlogs. I was even able to get partner after about 9 months of posting videos, mainly thanks to my 7 years of development video. But it's truly just been amazing to see the channel grow to what it has. I think it's over 2,800 subs now. So my advice for you guys is just go forward with the YouTube videos if you're doing game dev. I'm a pretty big introvert. I hate putting things out publicly, but I've actually started coming around and enjoying the process. You will get your fair deal of criticism. We all do. That's just part of it. but you are going to find support from people, and it's awesome to see that. It's also a really good way to get outside of that bubble that a lot of us game devs seem to find ourselves in, and it's really beneficial to just see what other people think from a different set of eyes. One thing is it will consume a lot of your time, which takes away from development. I was noticing that I was spending more and more time making these videos every time there was some sort of milestone. But I think the investment definitely pays off. You never know what's going to happen. But if you don't put anything out, nothing's going to happen. Thank you guys too for all the support you've given me on YouTube. It's been an incredible journey so far. I also wanted to take a quick second and thank my Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. I'm sorry I don't have a lot on that page right now. It's mainly just supporting me. So if there's anything specific that you guys want to see on the Patreon page, please let me know. So how much money did I make this year? Well, my other two Steam games have done about $400 in game sales this year, which is amazing to see that they're still selling copies. I made about $300 from ad revenue on YouTube. So the grand total is about $700 for the year. I spent about $600 on assets for Wildkins. So not including my time and the cost of living with rent and gas and food and all that, we made about $100. So that's not too bad of a year, I don't think. So what's the plan for the future? So while I continue to brainstorm on how to bring the game Wildkins back from the dead, I just want to keep creating things. I do have a bunch of smaller ideas that I want to kind of prototype out and just really try some new things. It's something that I haven't done in a long time. I've just, for the past 4 years, have always had a main game to work on. My last game was 2 years in development. The game after that was a little over a year. And then I quickly just got myself into another year-plus long project. So I want to just take some time to be free from that and experiment. I'd also like to make a lot more content on YouTube that just isn't focused solely around devlogs for my game, which is going to be pretty exciting. But the main thing is I still have a good bit of runway left to where I can definitely do this for another year. I just didn't want to let a failure really derail me from continuing to make things. We all have failures. It's if you let them kind of define your path is where it becomes a problem. So the plan is just to keep going for another year and just make a lot more things and try things out and improve myself. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for being here, for the support. It's been a fun journey, and I'll see you guys on the next one.